Tech writing. What is it? What are the requirements? How to get started? How to get paid clients? All these questions and much more are going to be answered in this 30-minute podcast episode where I'm in conversation with Bonnie. So let's get started, and as you always do, enjoy this one. Hi Bonnie, how are you doing?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm also doing good, Bonnie. Bonnie, you mentioned like you have been doing technical writing since November. So, how has your experience been thus far?
Okay, the experience has been great. To be honest, technical writing is like you're just getting paid to learn new things because most of these tech blogs they'll ask you to write articles about their product, how can use their product to solve their problems. So most of these products are some things you are not used, or some of the topics are topics you're not familiar with. So once you start working on the topic, you learn new things, of which, like, okay, the work of a technical writer is to break down complex concept into an easy to understand language. So you have to understand these things first. That means you learn and still you get paid. So at the end of the day, you're just getting paid to learn new things here. So the experience has been really good. Even okay. Apart from learning, the money part is really good because, to be honest, technical writing has completed my life. Right now, I can afford some things I couldn't afford like a year ago, and yeah, so the experience is really good. Everything about technical writing is really good. Yeah.
Awesome. So, like for some folks listening to us who don't know what technical writing is, can you explain for them?
Oh, technical writing. Okay, we can break it into two parts. There's the main technical writing, which mostly deals with the writing documentation. Documentation is, as you know, is the how to use a software, how to use a technology, and all that. Then there's the technical content writing, which is mostly like is involved with content marketing. Content marketing involves creating content like blogs, articles, videos that help people to solve a certain problem. So most of these companies who need this technical content, like blogs, writing blog posts, they want to, like, they're doing content marketing in such that you, as the reader, when you read this article, it will help you to solve your problem, and if their product will be able to solve your problem, they'll mention it. So it's not like direct marketing, but they just want to make the potential customers, the readers, aware of their brand and their product, so in the end you may start buying from them. So those are the two parts of technical writing. So mostly technical writing, you can call it just like documenting the process of doing something. So let's say, for example, you create a user product, let's say WhatsApp. So WhatsApp, they can ask a technical writer to create a blog on how to use some of the features. Let's say the status, how to use. So let's say the WhatsApp
Hmm.
upload status, and they want to help users to be able to use this status feature. So maybe most probably they will ask you, the writer, to show the users how to use the status feature, or the benefit of using the status feature. And when you go to, if it solves the problem that you have, and you search on Google, most probably this article or the blog post will be suggested to you by Google. And since most probably, I'm sure that the other, like, social media companies with status feature, of which WhatsApp are competing with them. So if the blog post is from WhatsApp, most probably you will use the WhatsApp, and you'll have to you use the status feature. So that's how actually technical writing works. And yeah, so if you're interested in technical writing, it's not hard. It's just documenting the process of doing something, or showing the reader how to solve a certain problem with use of product or software.
Hmm. So,
Yeah.
like Bonnie, for beginner folks listening to us, can you suggest them like how should they start technical writing?
Okay. Technical writing, to get started first, you need to, like, know to code, learn how to code, know a few programming languages. This is because most of these tech companies, their products, their softwares are built using these, are created using these programming languages, these technologies. And of course, you can't write about something you don't understand or you don't have an idea about. So learning how to code programming, how things work in how softwares work, that would be a great place to start. Then after that, you learn how to write. Because of course, like to explain things better, you need to know how to write. So after learning how to write, you just start writing. For me, I learned how to write. Then I wrote a story about myself, how I quit the school of engineering and got into tech. So that can be a great starting place. You can also write after learning how to code. You can maybe create your own portfolio website. Then you can write about how you did it, the process you followed, the technologies you used, and all that. So that can be a great state to start. So after learning how to write and writing your first article, you can post it on blogging platforms such as Dev2. Those are blogging platforms for developers. There's Ashnode. You can also try Medium. The others like Akanoon and Dizon. So these are places that you can start posting the articles that you are writing. So continue. So this okay. The simplest way you can do is just work on projects, create projects using your coding skills, then just write about them. So it's just documenting. So after that, I create consistency and keep posting these articles on these blogging platforms. Then you'll have a portfolio. So most when you after like writing like 2 to 3, 5 articles, you can now start like looking for client. So I think on my Twitter profile, like I have a list of platforms that have been like $200 to $600 per article. And mostly when you go to apply, they will want to know the work that you've done before. And so that mostly that your portfolio. That's why it is important to like once you learn, you know to code, you learn how to write, you create a few articles that you when the client want to see the work you've done before, you can show them, you can give them the link to your work and they can see the work you've done before. So that's how you can just get started.
Awesome. So, like Bonnie mentioned, several blogging platforms like Dev.to, Hashnode, Medium. So, I want to know from you, like, is it better to post your blogs on these platforms, or you can also have your own personal blog?
Yeah, you can actually have your own blog. Okay, if you already have a blog, you can have it, but the simplest form is to use blogging platforms because blogging platform, the advantage is that there are many people who are using blogging platforms.
Hmm.
These blogging platforms are optimized for SEO, so that means your content will be available to a wide range of an audience, and also most of the clients might find your work through these blogging platforms. So even if you have your blog, it works perfect well. Yeah.
Awesome. So, like Bonnie mentioned, like for writing a technical blog, we need to have some coding knowledge, but you can't know everything. Like there's so many frameworks, so many libraries, so many languages. So, if a client wants you to write a technical article on something that you don't know, so how do you go about learning that particular thing?
So let's say like you learned how to code by line HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So maybe you can decide to be a JavaScript technical writer, right? So now if your client asks you to write about content that in topics that involve JavaScript, you can write about. But if you're not familiar with Python, PHP, you cannot write about that. But another thing you can do is that about programming languages and these frameworks. If you have as you know, if you learn one language, the other one becomes easier. So
Hmm.
if you have tried other languages and maybe you can try to learn, but it will be good like to niche down. If you're a JavaScript developer, focus on creating JavaScript content. If you're a React developer, you can focus on creating React technical articles. If you're a Python developer, so with that it will help you to improve on this
Hmm.
programming language framework and all that. But if you're familiar with other subjects, most of the articles that the first article I wrote about was like it was about getting Stripe payment data, then loading it into a Postgres database and visualizing it in using graphs and charts. So I didn't use SQL before, but since I know to code, I've worked with programming languages. It was not easy for me to grasp. It was just research. So mostly, if you are given a topic that you're not familiar with or you don't understand, as long you need just two things: to know to Google and you be willing to learn. So as I said earlier, that's why it's important, like to know to code, because if you know to code, you just figure things out. And yeah, so
Hmm.
just know how to Google and just be willing to learn, and you figure things out. Yeah.
I want to know your process, what it is like. For example, you are writing an article and you don't know about the tech stack. So, how will you approach that article? How will you continue writing? And how will you edit that article?
Okay. What I'll do, once I get the topic, the first thing I do, okay, I have like a process, like a writing process that I use. The first step is brainstorming. So brainstorming, it involves about researching Googling or researching about the topic you'll be writing about. So you at first, some topics are quite intimidating, and
Hmm.
you can feel, because like you feel it's something you're not actually, if it's not familiar with, you may feel intimidated and you feel like it's not something that you can do. But once you get the topic, just do a quick research. So you just brainstorm and search on Google, or watch a YouTube video about the topic. See others who have like created such articles or blog posts, read them, get inspiration, and just have an idea, a grasp of how the topics works. So as you research, make notes of all the things that you're learning. So after that is you just prepare to write. So that the first step is brainstorming. The second step is preparing to write. So preparing to write, you just take all the research that you did. Then you come up with with an outline of the article, the blog post you're writing about. So the outline is just like the skeleton of the article. Is just shows how the article look. So there's introduction, there's the body, there's the conclusion. So mostly the introduction should involve like showing the reader the problem that you'll be trying to solve with your article, and the solution that you'll give. Just give them like the problem, show them like show them how you're going to solve the problem they have, and use the introduction like to hook the reader, so that they can read up to the end. So also the body break it into subtopics of different sections of the article that we'll be covering. The conclusion is just the summary of the whole article. That's also the second step. The third step is about writing. So now you start writing, following the outline. So here you should just focus on getting content out of it and on paper of where you are typing. Just type right. Don't focus on grammar and other things about how your article looks good. Just focus on putting the content on paper. That's the Then the next step is now editing. So editing is going through the article to revise it, to go through the mistakes, to make sure the paragraphs looks good, the sentences looks good. But so what you can do is that you can use tools like Grammarly for this part for editing, because it will catch some errors. I use Grammarly Premium, and it has been really helpful for me, because it will paraphrase some sentences that do not look good. Grammarly will help you to catch some to make sentences look good and paraphrase them in such a way that they're easy to understand and all that. Yeah. So the next thing is like proofreading, to make sure everything looks good. And yeah, so if it's client, you can send the work to the client. The client will review the work and see if it looks good. Then if there are any changes to be made, they'll make changes and all that, as and forth. Then after that, when the work is good, then it can be published. So like if you follow this process, the process of writing an article becomes easier. Also, there's also part of coding. Okay, mostly of technical articles involves two parts. The first part is coding, and the other one is writing. So first you need to solve the problem through the process of through the coding. After you solve this problem, then you can write about the process. So as I said earlier, it's just documenting the process. So first you have to solve the problem through coding. You make sure that the code works, there are no errors. Then you just write about that process. So if you just use that process, everything becomes easy.
Hmm. That's a pretty good process. I'm sure the listeners will like try to copy it and like gain success out of this process. So yeah. Also, like Bonnie, technical writing is all about making it easier for the reader to
Yeah.
understand the tech stack, understand the process, understand the problem you solved. So like, how do you think from their perspective? Because if you know something, it can be easy for you. But if some person doesn't know that thing, that same thing can be difficult for them. So how do you think from their perspective and break down your ease down your topic?
Okay, there's something that is called the curse of knowledge. So the curse of knowledge is a situation where that when there's a difference when you know something and you don't know something. So once you know that something, you can't remember how it felt without knowing that something. And so most of your readers will be that in position where they don't know what you know, but you don't know how your readers feel since they don't know. So I think the best thing you can do is identify your audience, the person you'll be writing to. Are you writing for developers? Are you writing for? You just figure out who you are writing for. Your audience. Identify your audience. So that's the first thing. Now try to explain. Use the introduction to explain the problem scenario. What the problem, like, make them get into their shoes, like before someone decides to read this article, what kind of a problem they'll be having. So that's the part of doing the introduction. After identifying the audience, the one you are writing to, now use the introduction to frame the problem in the mind such that I can relate with this. This is the problem I have, and this is the right article for me. Now after that, take them in a process. So like in technical writing, there are things that you're supposed to do, like using active voice instead of passive voice. There's also breaking sentences in a clear way. Just break it, like you just need to write it like you explain it to a 5-year-old or 13-year-old. But of course, as long as you know your audience, if you are developers, you don't have to explain some things like
Hmm.
what is a text
Yeah.
editor. Yeah, so you don't have to go. But if you are writing to the normal user who is not know what is coding, you have to explain what is a code editor, how to use all these terms. But so once you identify the audience, you just figure out what are some ones that my audience is not familiar with. You make sure you break them down to what they understand, and make them understand the problem you're trying to solve for them, and how you'll provide the solution. So it just if you use the process, do the brainstorming well, identify your audience, and make sure that you're solving the problem. I think it becomes easier for the reader to be able to learn something you've written about, or to be able to solve their problem with the content you have written.
Great points. Also, like Bonnie, I'm curious to know like how to find clients for paid work.
Okay, for me, how I get my client. Funny thing, I've never applied for technical writing gigs. Most of my audience, my client reaches out to me through Twitter DMs. But I've okay on my. I think we also add the link on the description. I have like I created like a thread of platforms that are paying technical writers. These platforms, like, they pay between $20 to $600 per article. So these platforms, you can go through the list and see the platforms that need the content that you're familiar with. If you are a JavaScript person, you can find platforms that need JavaScript content. If you're a Python person, you can check platforms that want Python content. So you just go through these platforms and apply. But first, you need to, of course, you need to know to code. And I think mostly audience of these podcasts are developers. That means they know to
Yeah.
code already. yeah, you need to be a good writer. You need to have written a few articles already, that because if they want to, this the proof of work, like how do I know like you're good at what you're saying you can do? So I need to see some work that you're done. So it doesn't have to be hard, even if you have zero followers, if even if you have never been on Twitter. If you can go to these platforms, you have written, you have good writing skills, and you know to solve problems, and you're willing to learn, and you're someone who's hardworking, you can go to these platforms, they apply. Even if you don't get at the first time, continue improving, get the feedback, continue until you get. Actually, so far, like three guys have been able to be able to get gigs through this platform. These are people who have got back to me. Someone like a week ago got was paid $200 for writing. I think it's paper space. There's also someone who got who was paid $250 for writing. I think it's Log Rocket. Another one who made $300 from Circle CI. I also there's also the a tech startup called MemberStack. They needed a React writer with was some experience with the React for 2 to 3 years of experience. I, so I advertised on my Twitter timeline. I asked for people who are good in React, they have the 2 year and 3 experience, and they know they have written some articles. So mostly what these the client was asking is they want to see the work, the link to the work you have done, the the LinkedIn profile to show your experience and all your skills. Yeah, and the guy, one of two people are I think three guys got the work. They think they each was paid $300 per article. So technical writing is quite in high demand. It's up to you, the listener or the developer, to prove your writing skills, to work on this. And yeah, if you are good and you show out yourself out there, you make client outreach, you'll get these opportunities. So it's up to you, because the demand is there, and so it's up to the developer, the listener, to work out to make sure that they are good in what they do in their writing and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with this point. Also, like if you are a developer and on Twitter and not following Bonnie, you're missing out because he shares so many good resources and opportunities. You should definitely follow Bonnie on Twitter. I'll leave the link in description. So definitely follow his account. Also, like Bonnie, can you share some resources that you might need while writing an article? Like you mentioned, Google. So, like, is there any other resource which can help you for writing an article?
I think the resources that I think can help someone is if they are really getting started with technical writing. And one of the resources is a Google technical writing course. You just Google technical writing course. The course will teach you everything you need to know about technical writing, how to create clear sentences, how to write paragraphs. It will talk about passive and active voice. It will be a good start if you are really interested in getting into technical writing. So I'll advise someone to go through that technical writing Google course. In terms of writing, I think there are two books. If you want to learn how to write, there are like two books that I would advise someone to look. There's a book called Everyone Writes by Anne Handley. That the book will just teach you everything you need to know about how to write. Then there's the other book is I think it's called The Content. I don't remember the topic, but it is still by Anne Handley. It's about creating good content, creating blog posts, and all that. I think I'll search about it, then I'll give you the link. Yeah, those are
Sure,
the
sure.
really books that those are the books that really helped me to learn how to write. And then there's the Google technical course. Yeah, other resources, I think the other resources you can use is just going through work of maybe other technical writers and get inspiration by reading the articles and see how to write a good article. But mostly once you get your client, they have their writing styles. They will give you like a list of styles how they expect your article to look, or like the style that they use to write the articles. And yeah, like you don't have to be worried about anything or intimidated about anything. It's just taking with one thing at a time. Take time to learn, take time to improve, and as you continue to write and build some consistency, you become better. So also there are other resources there online. Just you can just search. I just mentioned a few that I found helpful for myself, and I think maybe the others out there, the articles that talking about technical writing, how to write a good article and all that. Personally, I'm working on an ebook, technical writing ebook. I think that will help people to. I want to like help people get into tech, learn how to code from scratch, then get into technical writing, know how to. I'm writing about all these the processes that I use, how to write a good technical article. I'll also have a list of all these platforms that are paying technical writers. I'll just like write a summary of each platform, the kind of content they want, the kind of technologies that they expect you to be known so that you can write for them. I'll also write about like how to negotiate for like good pay. Because okay, the most of, okay, even also personally I had this problem at first, and when the client approaches you, they ask you to write for them, like you don't know how much to charge. Like I remember the first time I was
Hmm.
like, I said like $30, and so like I feel that's a lot, but right now I've written a few articles, and I know like $100 is the least you can go. Like if you're really good and you believe in yourself, $100 is the lowest you can go. Most student payment is between $200 and $300, but the other platform that you can pay $400, $500, $600. Even others that have been $1,000. So it matters with the complexity of the topic you're working on, and your experience and how you charge for your services. So I will also be covering all that. I think on the ebook I'll also be talking about like how to grow your audience on Twitter, how to grow a personal brand, how to like be able to build an audience in such that you don't have to apply for these opportunities where clients will be looking for you instead of you looking for them. Because if you really show yourself out there, especially on Twitter, show that you're good in what you do. People can see the work you're doing and sharing your experience, helping people solve problems. I think our client will start be looking for you because they can see you'll help them to solve their problem. So yeah, it doesn't have to be hard. You can just go search for the resources. You can even go read a few of my articles, technical articles that I've written. You can look at how I structure an article, how I put things together to make a good article. Yeah.
All right then. Thanks for joining in, Bonnie. Finally, can you play my speed test? All right then. Thank you, Bonnie. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your tips and knowledge with the audience. I'm sure they will gain a lot out of it and like try to start technical writing. And if they get stuck somewhere, they can approach you in your DMs because Bonnie is very reachable. So please feel free to reach him in the DMs.
Yeah, like my technical writing has completely changed my life, and like I've made it like my goal, my aim is to like help others, developers like who want like okay, the people who are struggling maybe financially, maybe they are stuck in careers or things that they're not excited about. It is paying low. There's no job security. As you can see, what happened with the pandemic, most people lost their jobs. There are not many opportunities in the other sectors, in the other areas. But as you see, in tech is growing. In technical writing will never go extinct as long as technology exists, because the work of technical writers is to explain our technology to the normal people, to the people who may end up using that technology. So I think technical writing is here to stay as long as tech exists. And if the tech is not existing, technical writing or your job will be the last thing you'll be worrying about. Yeah, so I just want to use my social medias, my Twitter, my platform that I have to be able to help more people get into technical writing, to be able to change their lives, to be able to live the life they want and all that. Because if you're really good, you have good writing skills, you're a good developer, you can really make a lot of money in this technical writing. Yeah, so you just need to start, show yourself out there, create a portfolio, show your work that you can do, start applying, and you're good to go.